Mr. Speaker, sir, the Honourable Prime Minister, the Honourable Deputy Prime Ministers, fellow Cabinet Ministers and Assistant Ministers, Honourable Leader of Opposition, my fellow Members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen in the public gallery, and fellow citizens of Fiji. I observe all protocols traditional to the Turanga Tusuva and his people. Mr. Speaker, I express my profound gratitude for the opportunity to address this House. I rise to extend my sincere appreciation to His Excellency the President of Fiji and my High Chief, Ratu Nengama Tawakidalati Palmalava. For his first speech, that was also very inspiring speech as President and for officially inaugurating the 2025 Parliament session of Fiji. Mr. Speaker, the task of building a nation is a noble challenge and is continuous. Governments after governments, parliaments after parliaments, sessions after sessions, and year after year. Many have stood where we now stand. Considering this, Mr. Speaker, I thank His Excellency the President for providing a roadmap within this Parliament, a collective vision centred on progress, prosperity, and unity. His articulation of the government's proposed legislative agenda, policies and programs signifies a dedicated commitment to the ongoing reconstruction for a more prosperous, more just and a more freer Fiji. As members of this Parliament, it is incumbent upon us to fulfill our duty and strive towards delivering the best for the people of Fiji and our treasured nation. Mr. Speaker, we are reminded by His Excellency that as members of the House, let us give hope to the people of this country. Let us become beacons of progress. Let us remember that our sacred duty, and that is to serve, to lead with integrity in building a better future for all citizens. As parliamentarians with humility, we must strive to keep the democratic spirit alive, though sometimes it is those who we serve who will remind us to stay grounded and remain committed to the promises that we have made. I will stand in support of His Excellency's statements. The change that we seek must start with us. Mr. Speaker, as we earnestly strive to collectively rebuild our future together as a nation, the Ministry of Lands and Mineral Resources remain committed to improve, innovate, think, strategize, and align with our annual plans and our budgeted programs. This year, in 2025, I envisage it to be a very transformative period for the ministry, a year that should be marked by better performance, greater work ethic, diligence, and indeed improved response time, beginning with me, to better serve our customers, stakeholders, and Fiji. I have challenged my staff in my ministerial statement this year that this year should be a year of urgency and accuracy across every facet of our operation. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry will prioritise service to all its customers by upgrading existing policies, formulating new ones for the sustainable management of land, mineral resources, and our groundwater resources. Through a recently launched innovative review team that will report to me by July end, we will review all standing operating procedures that carries the intent of cutting out red tapes or bureaucratic repetitive processes and making move towards digitizing everything that we must process. Mr. Speaker, with government's commitment to SGD number 6, providing access to clean drinking water as a fundamental right of every Fijian, and with the increasing demand for groundwater resources for household consumption, agriculture, and commercial water bottling, the Ministry will ensure effective implementation of the National Groundwater Resource Management Development Policy that was launched last year, which will ensure sustainable use and management of groundwater resources. Groundwater resources law will be developed soon. Mr. Speaker, Fiji's groundwater reserves, or aquifers, need to be sustainably managed and protected from pollution from surface areas and to ensure they are not exhausted or depleted unreasonably. As we speak, the Ministry has assisted over 2,347 households with a total population of over 11,000, 7,000 which are males and just over 4,000 females. Mr. Speaker, before I go into the borehole program of the ministry, I want to pay my respect to my senior technical officer, Mr. Saki Dawaru, who passed away at MRD yesterday during an internal training program held in-house. Rest in peace, Saki. Condolence to your family. Since the budget, Mr. Speaker, the MRD groundwater team has so far dug 31 boreholes. 16 have been completed, with 15 envisaged to be completed by the end of this financial year. At the same time, Mr. Speaker, 41 borehole sites have been identified, and they will be constructed by private companies who have gone through the rigorous requirement that ensures that our people have access to clean drinking water. We also envision that this will be completed by end of July 2025. We continue to attend to requests from red zone areas, areas where the water network doesn't reach and rivers and streams are far. Recently, news from Yalawa in Tambia and Walilawa number 2 in Labasa were brought to my attention in the first day of this week's Parliament. I have directed my team to visit Yalawa and Walilawa number 2 to ensure that their request for a borehole and clean drinking water is attended to without delay. To my staff who are watching in live now on live feed, these are your marching orders. Mr. Speaker, as mentioned by His Excellency in his speech, the Ministry is currently finalizing the review of annuity payments for the Suva landowners on state land, which covers 3,000 acres across domain in Suva, the Matangali, Ketenetukani, and Vindilo, Namoli, and Matangali, Nandala, Naivitinin, and Nambuilevu of Nandala village. The last review, Mr. Speaker, was done in 1998, and the new figures will be announced in the new budget. Mr. Speaker, by operation of law, any land that was acquired for public purpose to which such public purpose no longer exists may be returned as of right to the original landowners. The Nandala land is one such land that we envisage to return to the landowners in this calendar year after Cabinet approval. Some more will be considered to be returned between 2025 and 2026. Mr. Speaker, we must improve in our customer satisfaction index by delivering service on time. And whilst we at the Ministry would make amends to ensure that customers are indeed satisfied, we have identified a concerning trend amongst those who call our clients. Regrettably, a significant number of our customers are found to be in breach of their lease and license conditions. Illegal developments continue to happen despite clear guidelines on approved development leases and leases. Additionally, there is a prevalent issue of negligence in adhering to timely rent payment. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry is resolute to collect what is due to it and owed to government. In pursuit of this, we are collaborating closely with the Office of the Solicitor General to provide us with options for our next step. Mr. Speaker, I would also like to take this opportunity once more to earnestly remind our lessees with outstanding land rent to promptly settle their dues now. The waiver of interest for all state land leases is currently in place and will end in September of 2025. It will not be extended any further. 1 full year has been given. If lessees do not take the opportunity to pay their lease up on time, we will exercise our right in law to the fullest as your landlord. As of yesterday, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry has contributed 14.39 million directly into government treasury. Mr. Speaker, through government's land reform initiatives designated to Itau K-Land, they have been able to draw interest from overseas investors valued, as of now, 436.2 million. Landowning units who are the main benefits of this land reform program have been able to receive up to this far 20.75 million in lease monies through premiums, ground rents, and royalties. Mr. Speaker, in terms of future development, the Ministry will ensure that every inch of land under our responsibility must be sustainably utilized for development and preserved for future resources. Consequently, the Ministry is working with the Department of Town and Country Planning in finalizing the state land's land use master plan. Considering factors like population growth, environmental concerns, and economic development, this master plan will provide clearer guidelines for future land development. Mr. Speaker, echoing the sentiments of His Excellency, the importance of agriculture and the need to empower the agricultural sector to be competitive, sustainable, and value-driven to promote food security and export, the Ministry will continue to ensure that all state agricultural land is provided only to those who will plant on it and help maximize its return to benefit not only individual households, but the nation as a whole. Mr. Speaker, as mentioned earlier, we place specific emphasis on the allocation and identification of state lands for higher return investment. This strategic approach aims to attract investment and foster the creation of new job opportunities for a broader spectrum of Fijians. Our commitment to this endeavour remains unwavering as we strive to stimulate economic growth and prosperity across the nation. In mining, Mr. Speaker, there have been recent claims regarding the export of gold ore concentrates from Fiji, which are misleading and reflect a very fundamental misunderstanding of the mining industry, whether it's intentional or not. The Ministry, Mr. Speaker, is open to constructive engagement, and we are also open to dialogue about our processes. Therefore, we're urging everyone to refrain from spreading misconstrued information to undermine the work performed by hard-working civil servants. The Ministry finds it necessary to set the record straight and express disappointment that such misinformation has been circulated, causing unnecessary harm. I would urge anyone who wants to know anything about the export of minerals to come to the Ministry at MRD for any clarity sought. Any mineral, Mr. Speaker, even in concentrates form, is not illegal if it is moved within the country. For example, the bauxites in Bua are concentrates, and it is not unlawful when it is moved from Nawelebu to its shipping point in Naivingiri in Lekutu before it is exported. The iron ore sand from Bar River are also concentrates in that form, and it is not unlawful when it is moved by barge from the mouth of Bar River to the storage facility in Lautoka Wharf before export. The important point, Mr. Speaker, is the point where the minerals is inspected, weighed, its concentrate percentage validated by MRD staff, the royalty calculated and paid in advance, the customs export paid, and the biosecurity seals the container for export. MRD's role is to ensure that there is compliance. Compliance of the mining law, compliance of the royalty laws. If on refinery, more percentage of gold is certified by third party, more royalty will be paid. If it is less, the loss is borne by the company. It is a win economically and environmentally, Mr. Speaker. Less smelting in Fiji means less cyanide need and less tailings, which can be harmful. Approving the permit, Mr. Speaker, to export minerals, even in concentrate form, is the prerogative of the Director of Mines and no one else. He is a well-qualified engineer, even has completed his doctorate 2 years ago. Dr. Soro is a highly competent and hard-working leader in my ministry. He and his hard-working staff at MRD have worked commendably, and as their line minister, I will stand honored alongside them in the work that they do. It is not easy, but it is a job that they have carried with proud shoulders, nevertheless. In terms of the mining industry contribution to employment and socio-economic development of communities, Watukola employs around 1,300 employees. Their weekly wage bill is 539,000. Fortnightly, 1.08 million. Tuvalu, the newest mine in Fiji, employs over 500 personnel with a monthly wage bill of 1.6 million. These monies circulate and support the towns in the West. Thousands of families are supported by it. Many businesses in Tabua, Rakiraki, Nandi, Lautoka, and Ba. Mr. Speaker, there is also a very high demand for development minerals. Lesser in value, sand, gravel, and hard rock are very important construction in construction industry and in the roading sector. The ministry will continue to fine-tune our information package and prioritize accessibility to assist potential investors as expected of us by government. Under the Fair Share of Mineral Royalties Act, a total payment of 22.5 million has been received from mining companies, with 19.65 million paid to landowners and 4.52 received by the state. Mr. Speaker, as of December 2024, Line 1 Metals, that operates at Tuatu Gold Mine, made a revenue of approximately 29 million. With a sustainable mining practice, the company has already invested more than 140 million, with additional 50 million to 100 million in capital investment. With the first royalty payment of $150,605 made to the Matangali, Vosarogo of Oturu, by the third or the fourth payment of royalty, it is envisaged and forecasted that the royalty payment will surpass the $1 million mark to the landowners. Mr. Speaker, this is the level of investment that Fiji needs. It is a sign of investor confidence, investing in Fiji, which will aid the country's economic recovery and boost the contribution of the mining sector to Fiji's GDP. The ministry will continue to encourage and facilitate development and investment in land sales, transfer, construction, and in the mineral resource sector. Despite the negative comments that we hear from the other side, Mr. Speaker, over 29 million was paid last year in capital gains tax for land alone. Land past building, the capital gains tax set at 8.971 million, just below 9 million of CGT. Altogether, the capital gains tax of everything that was paid in 2024 set at 60.405 million. These figures, Mr. Speaker, capped at 10%, suggest that investment is doing extremely well in Fiji. With the taxi driver story of my friend, Mr. Koya, I also have a testimony from another taxi driver. When asked of how business is, he replied in Itoke, "Sir, business ngo, ke mamikana na taxi, rakana talenga na pari, watalito." Business is good, Mr. Speaker, to those who work hard and those who look for opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I finish with constitutional making. Fiji is pre- and post-independence founding father. The late Ratu Sir Kamisa Samara wrote his memoir titled The Pacific Way. The Pacific Way was the striped road of his leadership mental in a very young democracy. Fiji was at independence in 1970, with much of our foreign relations still to be charted, parliament life still young, and the hope of a future still unknown. Pacific Way, a way of life coined by our founding father, inspired his 1970 partnership with the then opposition leader to produce a constitution whereby, in the late Ratumara's own word, people of different races, opinions, and cultures can live and work together for the good of all, can differ without rancor, govern without malice, accept responsibility as reasonable people intent on serving the interests of all. Mr. Speaker, on Monday, the Honourable Prime Minister made a similar call across the aisle to the Leader of Opposition in response to His Excellency's most gracious speech. He made a call to the opposition that we can create a constitution together that has the people's aspirations, their ambition, most importantly, their voice. Mr. Speaker, with your leave, I ask the Honourable Leader of Opposition and all the independent members who are aligned to his leadership, you also now are presented with the opportunity to create a constitution that contains the voices of those who voted for you. Those who voted for you, I am sure, want a constitution that they could give themselves, not as the 2013 Constitution says in its preamble, established for them. With yesterday's behind us, I salute the 4 independent members who supported the motion of the Honourable Prime Minister. History will remember you for your patriotism. And as the last batsman, Mr. Speaker, and with victory already on our side, I wish the mighty Virat House and the Never Say Die Brigade all the very best in tomorrow's QBS into House. Mr. speaker, I thank you for your indulgence, and I thank His Excellency for his most gracious speech. I support the motion of the Honourable Prime Minister. Thank you, sir.